Hello friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Danny and today it's time for another 5-star exchange. Several months ago, I participated in a collaboration put on by Neil Diamond, and I really had fun with it. It is a 5-star exchange where a whole bunch of random booktubers essentially put our names in a hat, and we pull names, and those people give us recommendations. They give us their 5-star reads and we vlog our experiences reading other booktubers' 5-star reads. And so I am doing another one of those this vlog, and I'm really excited because the last time I had such a good time, and I'm really excited about the books that my particular recommender recommended. So let's get started. The first on the list is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I was really excited to see this come up on the list. This is a book I have never read, and I hear everybody rant and rave about it, and so I am excited to finally see what all the hype is about. I do have a physical copy. I also have it on audio, and so I will be reading this with you guys and vlogging my experience with it. I can't wait to see. I know a lot of people talk about the humor in this book and the fact that it's absolutely fantastic, and I know that humor can be sometimes hit or miss with people, and so I hope that this is my type of humor. The next book is The Phantom Tollbooth. This is another I have never read, and honestly, I know nothing about it, but the cover sold it for me. I absolutely love this cover. I'm sorry, it's a little shiny because it's a library copy, but I have this as a physical copy from my library, and I also have this on audio, and so these two books I will be reading through. I'm hoping to get through them both today, but if not, I'll get through them within a few days. And then the third book that my recommender recommended was The Color of Magic, which I'll put a picture of it up on the screen. I do have an e-copy of this, but I do not have the audiobook. So this one I really want to get to. I believe this is the first book in the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett, which I've never read. And I am intrigued by it, even though I'm a little intimidated because Discworld, the series, has like umpteen hundred books. I don't know how many books it actually has, but I know it's a big series. But I've heard a lot of people absolutely adore it, and so I do want to give it a chance. I just don't know if I'm going to have time to. So this one is a maybe for me. It's definitely one I want to read. I just don't know if I'm going to have time for this vlog to read it. But it's on my TBR. I don't know if I'm going to have time to get to it. We'll see. Fingers crossed. I am halfway through Hitchhikers, and I wanted to stop and give you guys an update. This has gone very quick. I'm used to reading some pretty long, chunky books, so I was cooking dinner and did not anticipate. I looked at my Libby app as I was listening to the audio and realized I was already at 54%, so I decided to pause and come and update you guys. I have changed outfits. I went for a run and then was cooking dinner and just didn't change it back into what I was wearing before, so that's why we have a wardrobe change, I guess. So The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is a pretty small book, so I don't know that I want to give a ton of details about the plot. It is very tongue-in-cheek, and I'm enjoying the humor, but I can definitely say that I feel a little bit like Arthur Dent in the story, where I'm a little confused as to what's happening, and but it's been really fun so far. It is definitely chaotic, and I can see myself with this series. I can't remember how many books there are in the series, but I could see myself binging this series pretty quickly just because I want to know what the next thing is that happens. But the universe has been really fun to figure out some different species that they've run into so far, and now they have this improbability machine, and that's been fun. But I definitely, I see myself as an Arthur Dent in the story where I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Beg your pardon. But yeah, I've had some fun. I've had a lot of fun with it, and yeah, so to continue, and I will update you when I have finished this. I probably will finish this one tonight and then start the Phantom Tollbooth, and then yeah, give you guys an update on that as well. Here for my second update, and I've actually finished both The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and Phantom Tollbooth, but we'll talk about this first. So I really enjoyed this. I am going to end up rating it 4 stars. I have to say, I still feel like I'm a little bit like Arthur Dent and I'm a little confused. There were a lot of chaotic moments, a lot of, I felt a little bit like a ping pong ball as I was reading this, in the sense of we're doing something and then something else happens and then something else happens and something else happens, and we're constantly in motion in this book, which I thought was a lot of fun. I do hope that as I continue the series that there's a little bit more meaning, I guess, behind some of the things that I'm reading. I have enjoyed like the antics and kind of the comedy behind some of what's happened, and I enjoy that. But that's one of the reasons I'm giving this 4 stars and not 5 stars is I do think that a lot of what I'm reading, I just feel like it doesn't matter. It's just crazy stuff that's happening. And so I hope that as the series continues, more of it has kind of a point to the plot, but maybe that's not the point. Maybe the point is just to have fun. And I definitely will say that it is a fun read. It's very, very quick paced. Like I said in my first update, I had no clue that I was 50% of the way done with it before I picked up my phone. So I will give it that. It's definitely a fun ride. Because of how fast paced it is, and some of the main character Arthur Dent's personality, I do find it difficult to connect with some of the characters in here. Once again, this is a very, very short book, and so that could be part of it as well. So as I continue with the series, that might alleviate itself. Arthur, at the very beginning of the book, Earth essentially gets destroyed by an alien race, and his reaction to it is very nonchalant, and I think because he has so little emotion about it, I had a hard time connecting to him, I think. But once again, I think it was a really fun time. I'm excited to continue with the series. If you like crazy antics, if you like chaos in your books, and comedy, of course, I definitely think that this is a good choice for you. And next is the Phantom Tollbooth. So I did pick this up after finishing the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I did finish this. It is very short, and it is a children's book, and so I decided to go ahead and finish this book before chatting with you guys. And I will say that I'm not going to rate this one. This book, I struggle with books that are similar to this. I have read other children's books and other middle grade stories that have similarities to this. So I'm going to talk to you about like the premise and everything, and then I'll talk to you about why this is not the book for me. So first we follow Milo, who is a young boy who is kind of disappointed by the world and kind of, what is the word, disillusioned, or he's just kind of bored with the world, and the Phantom Tollbooth is delivered to him mysteriously, and he decides to go on a journey, and within this journey he goes to like a magical land and goes on a quest. And I think that's kind of all I want to tell you about the storyline, because it is such a short book. What I did not enjoy about this particular story is there were a couple of things. One, I think that this story and the characters are very on the nose. And that is something that I've found in the past that I get a little annoyed by. For instance, one of the characters is called Spelling Bee, and that bee, it's literally a bee who spells. And one of the characters is called Humbug, and he literally has the personality of a humbug. And things like that. I felt the same way about One Piece, which I know a lot of people love One Piece, so I know I'm in the minority there, but One Piece is very on the nose with its characters as well. And it's just, I don't know what it is about my brain, but my brain being told that this is the character's name and this is the attributes that that character inhabits, even if, which does happen, the characters do grow, and so they're not really wholly defined by the attribute that they've been given. It still is just something that bothers me about children's books that do this. And so that was something that kept taking me out of the story. And then the second thing is something that I found in The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland by Catherine M. Valente, I read a little bit ago, has kind of the same cadence of writing style. So I almost want to call it like a Dr. Seuss vibe, but it doesn't rhyme like Dr. Seuss. It's a fairy tale cadence. It's kind of written in riddles. Not all of the time, but just some of the narrative is written that way. And it does take me out of the story. I feel like I need it to be a little bit more grounded because the world is so whimsical. I wish I had like the proper verbiage to describe that narrative style. But that's all I can think to say is that it's very, very whimsical, very rhythmic, but it doesn't rhyme. So that's not the right word either. But yeah, it has that like storybook feeling that definitely takes me out of the story. As far as like the storyline itself and the journey that Milo goes through, the trials and tribulations that he goes through with some friends found along the way, I do like that storyline, and I think that this has some really good lessons in it for kids and for adults to learn about. So I do think that this book definitely has an audience, and I think that this story is good in that sense. It just wasn't for me. So that leaves one more book for this vlog, and that is The Color of Magic. I wasn't sure if I was going to have time to read this prior to needing this vlog to be done, but I do think I'm going to give it a chance. And so I am going to go and read that. I will definitely see you later on a different day to talk about that, and I will try and update you mid-book instead of waiting until the end. I'll see you then. Okay guys, so I have gotten to 56% of the way through Color of Magic, and I did just a little bit of digging on the Discworld series, And yeah, there's a ton of books in this series. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more of a deep dive. It looks like there are different like series within Discworld. I think the book that I'm reading now is the first in publication order that Discworld is, but I don't think that each series goes in publication order, because I think this, unless I'm wrong, is the Rincewind series, because that is one of the characters that I'm reading about. And let me just read you what I found on Goodreads. So like there's the Discworld Death series, which I've heard because I think Mort is one of those books. The Discworld Ankh-Morpork City Watch series, the Witches series, the Rincewind series, Tiffany Arch series, and then there's more. I think this is one of the ones that I think this is a series that I will not consider. It's not that I'm not considering it a series, but I'm not going to penalize myself for reading through some of this series in my series goal for next year. And I do think I'm going to continue with the series. Spoilers, I guess. So, like I said, I'm 56% of the way through. I am enjoying it. This world is so crazy and whimsical, but in a really good way. I do worry with whimsy, as you've seen in this vlog, with the Phantom Tollbooth, that was a little too whimsical for me. But I think whoever created this list definitely has like a type in books, because I have found that all of these are very whimsical and very comical and lighthearted, and I've really enjoyed this book so far, The Color of Magic. I've enjoyed learning about, there are so many oddities in the world that are just considered normal. For instance, there is a piece of luggage that you run into that has legs. There is this little picture imp that lives in like a camera that makes the camera run. There's a wizard who only knows one spell and he doesn't know what spell it is. There's just a lot of oddities in this world that I really have enjoyed getting to know. I also have really enjoyed the characters so far in this book. So if you want like a general plot for this book, which I don't know if that's going to help you with the series, because of the fact that this series is so vast, I'm assuming that each sub-series within Discworld does something completely different. But this one, which, like I said, it starts with The Color of Magic, and I'm pretty sure it's in the Rincewind series, follows Rincewind, who is a wizard. And he is tasked with taking care of a tourist of his city. And chaos ensues, and they kind of go on a quest together. The tourist is called Two Flowers, and he is very naive and just a lot of fun to see kind of go through this world. And we are learning along with him as the reader, trying to figure out what Two Flowers ends up running into that could be dangerous, that Rincewind knows is dangerous because he's lived in the world, but Two Flowers as a tourist doesn't know. And I don't know, I've had a lot of fun with it. It's definitely something, it's very lighthearted. It doesn't take itself too seriously. I am hoping, because I feel very similar to this as I felt with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Right now it's at a 4-star, which is great. I think what would make it a 5-star for me, and I don't know if we'll get there in this first book, is the connection with the characters. I love the characters so far. I think that they're a lot of fun, but I don't have an attachment to them yet, if that makes sense. There's not a lot of emotion involved with me right now. It's just, I'm kind of like bebopping along, having a good time, reading about this really goofy scenario. And yeah, I think I need more emotion, I guess, to push it back up to, or push it up to a 5-star read. But I'm really enjoying it so far. I am glad that I pushed to myself to pick up all 3 books, and that this is the last one that I'm going to end on. Discworld is something that I've always wanted to get into, but I was a little intimidated by the series just because there are so many. That intimidation has not changed. I am still very intimidated by the series. So for those of you who are watching this, or for the person who gave this list or provided this list to me, if you have a recommendation on how to get through the Discworld series, like order, like, did you read it chronologically? Have you read the entire series yet? Would you recommend doing the subcategories, the sub-series, and reading those in order? I would just like to know your guys' opinions, because I definitely am going to continue. I haven't fully fleshed out in my head how I'm going to do that with such a massive series. I will talk to you guys in a bit whenever I have finished this book. I did complete The Color of Magic last night, and I am going to rate it a 4-star. So I guess I first want to talk about just some things that I really liked about this book, and then I'll talk about why it's a 4-star instead of a 5-star. So the world building that Terry Pratchett does within each of the locations that our characters travel in this book are really fun. I loved what was it called? Wormburg? It was a dragon location, essentially, and we learned about how these dragons exist, why they exist. They are in this like crazy area that's like an inverted mountain that definitely shouldn't be standing, with the exception of the fact that it's surrounded by magic. And learning about the people who live in this area and the dragons, and how the kingdom itself has survived, and some of the history of the people who live there was really fun. And I found that in a lot of the different locations that we visited within this quest on The Color of Magic. I still really enjoyed the 2 characters that we have, Rincewind and Two Flowers. I do appreciate the contrast between the 2 of them. And I also appreciate the fact that Rincewind isn't really a likable character, even though he is like the main character. He definitely has flaws. He's a bit of a coward. He's definitely not a good person. He is doing things because he's kind of being forced to, or put into a situation where he doesn't really have a choice. And I appreciate having a main character that's not, I don't know, like, I don't want to say like chosen one, but like a beloved character. Like I enjoy having a main character that is a little bit irritating at times, and yeah, I enjoyed reading about him. I do like Two Flowers. I like the constant positivity, almost toxic positivity that he has. And I also really enjoyed the kind of crazy, this goes into the world building again, but like the different magical elements and characters that this world has. So like the little picture imp, the luggage that's has all of the legs, and all of those characters I enjoyed learning about. The reason that this is not a 5-star read for me is because I don't think a storyline that is set up the way that this one is will ever be a 5-star read for me. It is very similar to the storyline in Hitchhiker's Guide. And I was talking with my husband last night about this book, and the fact that they both, Hitchhikers and The Color of Magic, both have a very similar, I don't know if you would call it narrative style. And I was trying to explain to him what's happening, and I think he came up with a term that I think fits it perfectly, where this is kind of a roller coaster book. Whereas, and what I mean by that is, it kind of feels like you are sitting on a roller coaster and you are being taken to different locations within this map to see what all of this, like this specific location, so the dragon location, what it has to offer. And then you are taken to another location at the edge of the world to see what this has to offer. And so I described it in Hitchhikers as feeling like I was a little bit of a ping pong ball and kind of being sent back and forth between all these different locations and all these things that we're doing. And I definitely felt that in this story as well, that I was just kind of along for the ride. I did not feel emotional connections to any of the characters in this book. Like, as I said before, I really enjoyed some of the locations that we went to and the world building that went on in those locations, and for us to figure out like the nitty-gritty details of how this world works. And I thought that was really fun. But because of the fact that I didn't see a lot of character development, I don't think that this would have ever been a 5-star for me. Not that that's a bad thing. I still enjoyed my time reading it, and I thought it was a really good book. But I don't know if that type of narrative style will ever be one that I just dearly love, because of the fact that I feel a little disconnected from the story. I do think that this is a series that I will continue in the future, that I need to be very particular about when I pick it up, because I think I could see myself easily getting frustrated by this narrative style and not grounding myself in a story. I found myself after finishing The Color of Magic really longing for a story that has deep character connections and a really vast world that you just get to live in for a little bit and not move around so much. And so I think that that's kind of where my home is. However, I am happy that I read these two massive series, or not, like I said, I haven't read the series yet, but I am glad that I've started the Hitchhiker's Guide and Discworld, because they are series that I've always wanted to give a try. And so I am grateful for this experience, and I did really enjoy my reads. But yeah, they're not all-time favorites for me, but I did still have a good time. So whoever recommended these books, thank you very much for a good time. I hope that you had a good experience with the 5-star exchange as well. And with that being said, I am really excited to figure out who recommended these books and figure out a little bit more about them. Before we get to their message, I do want to shout out Nell Diamond real quick for setting up this collaboration experience. Once again, it was a blast. I can't wait to do it again.
Hey, hi, I'm Jen from Genderqueer. Nice to meet you. Hey. So just real briefly, let's see, what my channel, my channel is Genderqueer. JENNDERQUEER. That's me. And I'm not going to say much. The 3 books that I chose, Color of Magic, Phantom Tollbooth, and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, are all books that I have absolutely loved ever since, like, high school. Like, these are books that I've loved since high school. So, you know, they're ones that I wanted to share. I love fantasy. I love, science fantasy. I'm not much on hardcore science fiction, but the absurdity of Hitchhiker's Guide really gets me. So there you go. Let me see. I'm running out of time. I don't want to go forever. So anyway, I don't know which one you chose, but I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, thanks for indulging me. Thank you to Nell for hosting this. I've had a really good time, and I hope you did too. And yeah, that's all I got. So thanks again.